I like Jesus until...
Yeah. Till I saw his dick.
This is an Urban Genius production.
My guy, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Remi?
I'm blessed. Good to see you.
Good to be seen.
Yes. Seen, not viewed, as they say. Now that makes me wonder what it's like to give a eulogy, you know? You know, like I feel like, what if you don't know the person?
Now you're asking for like insider secrets
Yeah.
behind the curtain.
Yeah. Behind the curtain.
So I've served in situations where I have had to deliver eulogies and officiate funerals for folks that I don't know very well or at all. So when I was at my last church, when people would come from the community, I was the clergy person who would usually do those funerals.
Okay.
And, you know, when I started at Central, we had some funerals out of the gate where I just hadn't had a chance to really get to know the person. So you got to spend some time talking with the family, friends, doing a lot of listening, asking questions.
And in a week.
In a week, in a very short time period. Like, who was this person for you? Tell me some stories. How would you describe them?
Yeah.
The real secret is to be like, is anybody in your family able to talk? Because we're going to get them up
Exactly.
to do sharing time, right? And I think that's ultimately the best for a funeral because what I learned from like my own personal grief, right, of loved ones I've lost is that everybody experiences them in a different way. So to have different people sharing like their perspective, their snapshot, painting the picture, right? And then it's your job as the eulogist just to sum it all up.
Okay. Okay.
You know, you wouldn't believe how many people are like, that was a really good funeral. I've been to really bad ones. I'm like,
And then it makes
the
you
same
wonder.
with weddings. I'm like, what are other people doing?
Right. But it also makes you like, yeah, you need to go to a bad funeral and a bad wedding so that you know.
Oh yeah, I can like not to do what not to do, like forget people's names.
Because that's what I was going to ask you earlier.
Yeah,
Have you ever forgot
like
somebody's name?
turn the funeral into an altar call.
Come on up.
Oh no, my biggest fear is forgetting someone's name.
Yeah, I could only imagine.
I do script. I do work really hard to like script. It's a little tougher with funerals.
Okay.
But I'm always afraid that like I'm gonna get up there with the couples and like completely blank.
Oh yeah,
like,
that's bold.
Wait, who are you?
Tell me your name.
Especially with, you know, like I don't know the couples super well. Like I just always have this fear I'm gonna blank on their names.
Yeah, that would be wild.
Right? Or if, you know, like you read, you know, you have kind of like the standard like wedding liturgy, we call it, or script. And I'm like, oh shoot, what if I forget to change the names?
Yeah.
But it's a real, it's moving, it's an honor, it's a blessing to do that. Yep. I think you can really, really provide some care and support.
There's some strength in being able to do that though, like because you're experiencing people at a very unique time in their lives. A lot of people it doesn't matter if it's the first time or not. It's a tough time.
It is. It is.
And so you're experiencing these people in a different way. So to be comforting in that moment while also prying at the same time probably is an art form. It's like picking a lock.
Yeah. I mean, because everyone grieves differently, people just show up in a different state, right? And the loss of a loved one, no matter the circumstances, is always tender. It hurts. There's grief. It can be overwhelming. So you've got to kind of balance like providing care. You've got to balance like trying to both grieve and celebrate the person who has died, and then you just got to get like just through the logistics, right? So helping people walk through the logistics of a funeral. Yep.
Have you ever done a funeral of somebody that you know? I mean, of a family member. That was stupid. I didn't mean somebody.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yes.
But I meant a family member.
Yeah, I have. I was one of the people who spoke at my mom's funeral.
Okay.
I didn't lead the whole thing, which I'm glad. I did the sermon or eulogy at my great aunt's funeral, at my grandpa's funeral, at my aunt's funeral.
Do you charge them this? You charge them for this?
They get the friends and family rate.
I'm not in the wheel. Okay, bad. Yeah. Extra. Bet it up, Grandpa.
Yeah, it's just a 50% off.
Okay.
No.
Don't worry about it.
And those are each of those have been both difficult and yet a blessing in their own way. Yep.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got dark. I didn't mean to get dark.
No, it's not dark at all. I mean, this is for me, it's like part of the job.
It's just questions. It's I'm just curious now, even more about the whole experience of being a pastor and the experiences that you have, right?
Yeah.
But I've talked about this before.
Yep.
The human balance versus the holy balance.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's the balance between the sacred and profane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the balance between, like, everything is both sacred and profane at the same time. Holy and at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that there's a lot of pastoral ministry, that is ministry through a church or a congregation, that is really about walking with people at major life transitions. So it might be birth of a child. Might be, like these are like the big ones, right? Birth of a child, a wedding, a funeral. But then it's also the little joys and disasters that just come with loss of a job, right?
Yeah.
Struggle in a marriage,
yeah,
right? Trying to figure out your vocation, your call. Yep.
And do you see a therapist, or have you
I
ever
have seen a therapist? Yeah. Yep.
I just wonder, because I see a therapist, and I know that my therapist sees a therapist, and I'm like, you have to see a therapist dealing with my kids. So I can only imagine what it's like. It's the same thing. It almost has to be the same thing being a pastor.
Yeah.
People come to you because they won't go see a therapist. You are their therapist.
I really try to, I see it as, so I've seen a therapist. Right now I'm working with a spiritual director. I've also for my profession, worked with a professional coach. So it's you just kind of need all of these people in your life.
Yeah, to help sharpen those tools.
Yeah,
for sure.
For all those things. I mean, I really try and encourage everyone that I'm not a certified therapist or pastoral counselor. Not a certified spiritual director. So when I meet with people, I'm open about that, and I will say you should think about seeing a therapist. Yep. But we can still talk together.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you need to get that checked out.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
We all need to get it checked out.
Yeah. Tell me about it. I'm in a cohort. That's it. Cohort. Now, I'm just on this journey of healing. And so I understand that a lot of my I wouldn't say that I have religious trauma.
Yeah.
But I'm willing to admit that I do have issues with religion, right? I mean, with Christianity specifically, but religion as a whole, but Christianity specifically, because I grew up in it.
Okay. All right.
And so, I don't do well with all of the, like I was telling you, when we start in the beginning, every time of the cohort, there's gospel music playing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no.
Why?
It's just too much. It can be too much.
So you don't have religious trauma or church hurt.
That's what they call it.
That's what they call it. Don't have church hurt. But what is it then if it's not hurt or trauma? Is it
it's
church or
okay. So it's a ton of
okay.
Baggage? So I grew up in the church.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, I know. I've heard the stories, Remi.
Yeah, I know you have. Oh God, I don't even know what that means. That could be the whole lot. I'm guilty as of a lot. But
You grew up in the church.
so I've experienced different types of different denominations.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Baptist,
Yeah.
Methodist, obviously.
Yeah.
Catholic, non-denominational. I don't know if I said that or not.
Okay.
And
The whole gamut.
and Kojic.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Church of God in Christ.
Church of God in Christ.
Pentecostal.
I've been to a Pentecostal church.
All right.
Are
Yeah.
those the same thing?
They're close.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I've been to a white Pentecostal church.
All right. Different.
Completely different. Because when I went to a black Pentecostal, I was like, this is not, one of them ain't, both of these ain't Pentecostal. But it was the hooping and hollering.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was an early turnoff for me.
Okay. All right.
So my mother,
You like more hymns and the robes and
I don't like none of it.
Okay. All right. None of it.
But if I had a preference, no, I don't like that either. I mean, I don't. It's somewhere in the middle that works for me
Okay.
because I grew up always with a black choir.
Yes.
So even though there were white people in both choirs, in my grandmother's choir and both sets of grandparents, that's why I have the most church, because my mother died when I was 11. But I would have had the most church with my mother, and it would have been different because she was getting ready to try to become an ordained. And she was in school,
like
seminary.
seminary.
School.
Okay.
She was in seminary, or getting ready to go into seminary.
Wow.
Before she passed, and so I was getting ready. I was already in the church all the time because my grandfather was down here all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So pick me up from school, we're going to the church.
You were
Saturday
like
morning we had the church. Sunday morning we had the church.
You were like a church rat.
I was
Church mouse.
Church mouse.
Yeah.
But they felt bad for me.
Oh, okay.
Because they could leave. They weren't here all the time. I was here all the damn time.
You'd be at the door waving. Yeah. Oh, I'm here for another 4 hours.
Go ahead, y'all. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what it was like. So
Okay.
But
So maybe you had like
fatigue for
church
sure.
fatigue.
Fatigue.
Church
for
fatigue.
Sure. But I wasn't always in service.
You're tired of it.
I'm tired of this church.
Would it be like church burnout, church fatigue, church?
Well, but see, here's so when I became a teenager, church was different. Okay, I always had friends at church.
Okay.
That's what made church fun.
All right. Black choir, check. Friends
Friends,
check. Okay.
check, right? So
we're building the list.
Nothing else, and everybody was cool here growing up. It was a great environment. An environment makes church fun for sure, especially for children.
Yeah.
At my mother's church, that we didn't have the same environment. However, we were new. I didn't grow up with those kids, so you kind of got to learn. But they were always. That was that kind of environment. Then somebody gonna get up and start running.
Yeah. Yep. It was lively.
It's running fast.
Too much cardio.
Listen,
Too much cardio at church.
But then it didn't matter because then you go eat fried chicken, yams, green beans at the church. You gotta build yourself back up for next week, for Tuesday. But so I was already like, oh no, this ain't it.
Yeah.
But hypocrites have also made it hard for people to go to church.
Yeah.
And so you see it. You see it a lot with what's going on with the climate now in politics. And they're not kind to immigrants. Just a lot of the stuff, taking stuff away from kids, killing kids. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. And I'm like, this is all in the name of what religion is this? Where do it say this is okay?
Yeah.
So when you have people who are like, you need to be believing in Jesus, the hypocrisy drives me crazy. On top of the things that I experienced, although I didn't have any, I had good times at church, which is crazy. Yeah. But it was the fellowship, more than the lesson or the message. Even though I would understand the message, like I could receive the message. I can still receive the message. Yeah. That's why I'm in the cohort where they we're healing from our traumas, but it's a religious. There's a process that you have to go through that this person thought of that I really think is a really brilliant process.
Yeah.
I'm actually like, yo, let me help you give this to people. She's a clinician, so she's heavy in the church and she's a clinician.
Yeah. So it's like holistic healing, right?
Yeah.
Mind, body, soul, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual.
And also healing, but there are
In a community context.
In the community context.
All right. Yeah. Yep.
Which is great. And I also I understand that I have some type of trauma based on my father being abusive and my mother dying, right? So I have heard myself say things like, "It don't matter, God don't with me anyway."
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Context is important. I think I remember where I was. I don't remember exactly what I said, but that was the idea of what I said. I was with my sisters and we were driving past the house that my mother died in. And I was just on one. Like I was just in that moment and I was like, yeah, God, it don't even matter. God don't fuck with me no way. Right. Because
is that like God's absence or God's?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm in this therapy thing. Because I'm not beefing with God. I think God, look at this. This is God right here.
Yeah. Okay.
I understand that.
Yes.
I'm not mad at God, but I went through it because of the shit that I went through. So I was abused, and then you take the non-abusive parent to leave me with the abusive parent, and then I'm like, then everybody else is old people. I knew then. I was like, I know I'm gonna miss out on a lot of shit because I was missing out on. Like my grandparents was not taking me back and forth to basketball practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Typical. So I already knew then. I was like, oh, this is some bullshit. This is some bullshit. And so, being that I grew up in the church with my mother, how could I not blame God? If I didn't grow up in the church, I probably would have blamed God.
Okay, yeah.
But because I grew up in the church, it was like, how could you do this shit to me?
Sure. So if you take God seriously, right, you're going to get angry with God. I think that's just a reality. And maybe like because you're dealing with traumas out of your childhood and you were involved with church a lot, like church is entangled in that, even if you wouldn't say it wasn't necessarily religious trauma or church hurt.
And yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my issues are also like, yeah, I don't believe all of this.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
And then I've read a lot of things and I hear, and I'm like, y'all not hearing the same shit I'm hearing. and that's why another thing that I appreciate about you, and another thing I appreciate.
Please keep going.
Yeah. And the person who's running this cohort that I'm in, because you have to be a realist. Like, People make it seem like Jesus is gonna do that for you. Jesus is gonna make that happen for you. And she'd be like, no, you gotta get up and do it yourself. But you have to use you. But I understand keeping God here, staying focused. I went through something this past year, as you know, right? And now that I'm on the other end of it, I'm like, oh, I needed to go through all of that shit. Not all of it.
Right.
I said everything with the exception of death, I asked for. So all of the experiences, the day after the first episode, I was experiencing, it had just begun last year at the library when we recorded that. It had just begun the day before. I didn't even know what I was walking into, but I knew that I had experienced something. I could hear it. When I listen back to the first episode, I can hear like, oh, this motherfucker getting ready to crash out. Oh, this motherfucker right here. It's a matter of time. Obviously, I know it because I experienced it. But so being on the other side of it gives you perspective. But during the storm, you got to be like, this ain't gonna be forever.
Yeah. And
so I understand. That's why I fuck with religion, though, right? Christianity, so to speak, because I know that there's a Bible verse about that.
There's like a storm.
There's a storm.
People are asleep. They wake up and they're
freaking out.
They're like, oh my gosh, the storm is blowing up.
Yep.
And they see Jesus walking across the water.
Yeah, just be cool, baby.
Calming the storm.
But if that really
Which
happened,
is really like, I think for me that's like powerful, like mythic and metaphorical language. Did it happen? I don't know. Does it need to have happened like that for what
get the point across,
what the truth of the story is?
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that storms come up suddenly.
Yeah.
And you freak out.
Yeah.
But there's something on the other side.
I don't know how true this is, but I'm a dork sometimes, so I don't.
What?
Yeah, sometimes. Not as often as you, sir, but sometimes.
Oh, I'm a total geek.
Conquistadors built churches on top of pyramids. So that's too much.
Yeah.
Let us have our source of energy, whatever. That's a whole nother conversation. I don't want to even get into. I don't even want to get into that shit today.
You are pushing all my geek buttons.
We should definitely have that conversation.
Well, I'll say one thing about that, okay. Right? So, like, you're dealing with obviously colonialism, right? So there's a part of that which is erasing indigenous culture and religion, right? So that's the critical side of it, like that was an erasure of those communities. And trying to, and the really like intimate connection at the historical moment between Christianity and the nations that were undertaking colonialism. Another way to look at that, though, is that there was some sort of recognition of like the holiness of spaces, right? And so I think there is something about like for to kind of step away from colonialism for a second, like each of the traditions, right? The religious traditions, for me are wisdom traditions, right? So why wouldn't there be some similarities? Why wouldn't there be some shared truths? Why wouldn't there be a sense of like, there's something about this space and place, right? That's sacred.
There is a lot of politics, or maybe both. Two things can be true. A lot of politics and religion, or a lot of religion and politics.
Yeah, both of those are true.
And so when we talk about a lot of these things, it's hard. You have to be able to decipher. I'm talking to myself when I say this too. God don't talk through walls.
What does that mean? God don't talk through walls.
Sometimes you'll be downloading some information from the higher source that you've never heard or processed before. But in the act, you're downloading and processing it. It wasn't necessarily intentional. So I didn't intend to say what I just was about to say, but then I'm like, oh shit, that was God for sure. Often I experience that by myself, right? But I heard God don't talk through walls from inside of the church. But they said, hello, walls, after they said what they said. And I thought that they were saying God don't talk through walls. I thought they were saying that God, that's what I heard. So I don't know if it was that. I never got a chance to ask if it was that, or if it was, is anybody in this listening to what I'm saying? Hello, walls, So as a kid, I always heard it as he, and it could have been either or. I don't know. I don't know which one it is. But.
So there's this saying from Jesus in the Gospel of Luke where he's pretty much in the same boat. Like nobody's listening to him. He's kind of pissed, and he's like looking around. I think he's in Jerusalem, so he's like looking at the buildings, right? And he's like, if no one listens and responds, even these stones will cry out. So maybe the pastor was channeling that, like, walls. Do you have an amen for me? What are you saying? But for
Which
you,
is kind of both at the same.
But what you're saying is God doesn't speak through walls.
Yeah, God don't speak through walls. Yeah.
What does God speek through for you?
I'm a vessel. We're all vessels.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
We're used. How else could the message get across?
Okay.
That's why I don't like read the Bible. Because there's a possibility that they got the Spirit and was feeling it. There's a possibility that all of that is true. So I don't. It brings a lot of people peace and comfort. So I don't knock it, but I do try to understand it. And I used to want to understand it so that I could use it as a weapon. I still kind of ain't gonna hold you up, but not in a weapon, not in a weapon in a bad way, but in a because to protect myself kind of weapon. Like, no, you're not about to use that shit against me. I know what it says.
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me correct you.
Yeah.
Because I also think that people take the shit to face value and really don't go into how deep it is. What's being said, the parables, the whole idea in itself. If people would take it as seriously as they dished it to other people, it would be better. It would just be a completely different experience, in my opinion, of religion. And so many people have so much religious trauma that they hurt people type shit.
Hurt people.
So I've been through something, and it was with the church, and so you hear a lot of people who have gone away from the church and then found their way back, and then you have people who, these are people, I'm talking about people who have trauma with the church.
Yeah.
Church hurt. Hilarious. Church hurt is hilarious. And no offense to anybody that's church hurt.
It's a real thing.
Or PKs out there, but then you have people who either run to it or run from it.
Yes. I think it's fascinating that, like, for you it's not church hurt, but it's like church, like, just wore out. Like the fatigue, the church fatigue. Like, that's real.
It ran its course, though, to the point where you and I have spoken about trying to find
Yeah, like, my dream is, like, what would a spiritual healing community, right, that like has the heart care and like the mental
it makes people want to come and don't make it feel like oh God, they finna be talking at us.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole lot of that going on in the church. I can speak. I know what I'm experiencing. I'm not speaking on everybody's church. I'm not saying that happens in your ministry. I think it's a ministry thing based thing too, because I have a friend who's experiencing now a change in the church. The pastor is trapped. Because the pastor came into a church that was already built. It's like you coming in the central and changing the whole program. And maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but there were some traditions that you had to keep if you want to keep that congregation. At the same time, I'm sorry to say it this way, but it's still a business. You need the people to pay the bills.
Okay, so let's so you're in this cohort. Maybe there's too much gospel music. But are you finding it healing?
But I like what she's saying. I understand it, and it can help me possibly deal with the religious issues that I do have, or the issues with religion that I do have.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to ignore that I'm not going to say that I don't have issues. But when she talks about healing and your issues with God, you got to understand free will, and I've always understood that. So that's why I really like in the direction that she takes it, and this is why I can handle the 20 minutes of gospel music in the beginning. If there's free will, God didn't necessarily make my father abusive. He went through shit that led him down that experience to become that person. Because I don't think my grandparents were abusive. Not physically anyway, because what I'm finding out is niggas be emotionally abusive and aren't even aware that they're emotionally abusive.
Hurt people.
And it comes from, yes. But I can only speak about the black community. A lot of it is just trauma that's just been passed down from generation to generation, so much to the point that it just becomes a norm and it looks like a reality. It feels like normal. So anything different is like, therapist. Oh, hell no, fix this shit. Because the truth is, me going through everything that I've been going through, therapy was me knowing that I was going to have to strip a lot of that shit away. To peel back the layers, like the shit that the bullshit that I've been putting on and have been becoming for so many years. Now I'm in therapy and I'm pulling those layers back. And it's like, I don't even remember who I used to be.
Okay.
So in the religious aspect, I truly appreciate that conversation.
Yeah.
Because I understand how healing it is for me and how healing it is for people, can be for people who are really like, who get up and go to church.
Yeah.
You know, she was talking to a lady and the lady was having an issue and she was like, make sure she was like, the lady was having a really big issue. She's like, just make sure you fast and you pray. And I said, damn, she got to figure that shit out hungry too. She already struggling. And you don't make that, well, she needs to hear God more clearly. People do not make good decisions when they're hungry. All right. See you next week.
Fasting's not for everybody.
But I get it, though.
Yeah.
I get it. You know, so many things like letting go, being able to let go is not easy. And that's like, that's why so many traumas lead to addiction. And there are a lot of addictions out there. One of the addictions that I'll use is that damn vape pen.
Yep.
It's because I'm going through something, right?
Yep.
And then eventually it becomes a habit, and you don't even know that you just used to putting something. That whole experience is a psychological thing.
Yep. Yeah, we're really great about finding ways to numb out.
Yeah.
Or ignore.
Oh yeah.
Instead of.
But that's what we do. That's big business, baby.
Processing our trauma or our hurt or issues or connecting with people. Yeah.
Because if that was priority, if that wasn't big business, healthcare would be free. Let's just be clear, because people need to go see therapists.
So I've been involved in spiritual direction for the last 3 years. I've been working with someone who comes out of the what's known as the Ignatian tradition, so Jesuits in the Catholic Church. So I did this 9-month process. It's called the spiritual exercises of imaginative prayer. So you read Bible passages, gospel, and kind of imagine yourself in it. Kind of leads to you're supposed to move into this place of having a direct one-to-one conversation with Jesus.
Okay.
And what that has led me to is just kind of the this form of prayer called contemplative prayer, which is more about just silence, just being. And so when you do that, your brain is just rushing. All you, it's all your thoughts, and so part of the practice is just learning to let go of those thoughts. And in that process of letting go, it's really helped me be more present to myself and other people in my life. So there's this Jesuit who writes about this contemplative prayer, and he talked about his big turning point was realizing that he was going through a moment of almost atheism. He wasn't sure if he believed in God anymore. And he was living in a community with other Jesuits, and he encountered this older guy, and he was just so angry at him, just had no patience. And so his breakthrough was the way that you relate to God is just the way you relate to people. If they're intertwined. That was that was a breakthrough for me, right? That's love of God and love of neighbor. If I can't be present to God, how am I going to be present to myself or present
someone else?
To people I love, and vice versa? If I can't be present to people I love, how am I going to be present to myself? How am I going to be present to God?
It feels like to me with religion, the different religions, is that people have chosen an avatar. You know how you play a video game and you pick Jesus, Muhammad, all of these different playable characters.
Yeah.
To get you to the same source.
Yeah. For me, I've chosen Jesus.
You were talking about the guy giving up his faith.
Yeah, he was really wrestling with it. Yeah. He felt a real distance, right?
I wonder how many people experience that are of the cloth.
Oh, I if you're not a human, I think if you're a human being, you experience that.
Yeah.
There's no way around it. So, I mean, and even, some of the, saints, right? Quote unquote saints, or well-known, well-respected spiritual teachers across Christian history will speak about some sort of like wilderness experience, dark night of the soul, right? Moments of feeling God's absence, or even of deep questioning of their faith.
Yeah. You know what could certain things
As I was saying, like if you take God seriously, you're going to have those questions.
Yeah. There's a current event that's happening right now that I think that would question a lot of people's faith, right? Just based on what you were saying, that made me think of this and feel like I should transition into that. The issue of peace to the Middle East. When we used to say that as kids, I had no idea that was some real shit. Kind of like most of the things we say as kids, ring around the posy, or you know, all those different things. And you start finding out their
that's a plague.
You start finding out their meetings, and you're like, none of this shit kids should have been saying.
I grew up with like reduce, reuse, recycle. So it's like, climate change is real.
Climate change is for real. My aunt was telling me. My aunt was telling me, she's in her 50s now. She said, sorry. That when she was in school, they talked about recycling. I mean, global warming.
Yep.
So I'm not gonna go off into that tangent, but global warming. I'm gonna say this to you. We're gonna get back to the Middle East because I don't know if I've ever said this to you before.
Okay.
Someone was talking about global warming, and I said, whether global warming is true or the Bible is true, whichever one, for sure the burning up at the end is gonna happen. So there's it's kind of hard to argue with the shit when you're seeing the trajectory. Like, damn, I might need to I might need to reconsider my whole Jesus thing. I'm curious as to what your take is on people not liking Jews, anti-Semitism as they call it. I never understood that. And so I was wondering if you could give me some context or maybe some knowledge of what you understand, because there has been the persecution of Jews for a long time. And I'm wondering what the beef is. Someone told me it was because they crucified Jesus. And I was like, that's not true. The Romans crucified Jesus. Isn't that the case? But they didn't rock with him either. But Jesus was a Jew, but he was speaking out against their of the time, right? That's safe to say?
Yeah, so I mean, Jesus was a Jew, right? And so Jesus's ministry and the initial movement of people that he built was really what you could say like a reform or renewal movement within the Judaism of his time. So he, as part of that reform and renewal, it was deeply committed, right, to the Hebrew Bible, the Torah, and the prophets and the wisdom literature, to the God of Abraham and Isaac, to the deep sort of Jewish tradition at that time. But it was also critical, right? Critical of some of the institutions and teachings that had developed over it, like any renewal or reform movement. So yeah, Jesus was a Jew, was deeply committed to what he saw as the best parts of the Jewish tradition, and also critical of some of the Judaism at his time.
Okay.
Yep. In terms of, I'm not an expert on the history of anti-Semitism, but there is a strand that you can pull through sort of theologically in the history of Christianity. So some Christian scholars after the Holocaust began re-looking at the history of Christianity in Western Europe, and sort of were wrestling with the question, how could a quote-unquote Christian nation like Germany turn towards Nazism and perpetrate the horrors of the Holocaust? And so what they began to do is kind of like pick apart the history and the tradition, and articulated this idea of supersessionism. So it's a big word, but basically the idea is that Christianity as it developed over the centuries, began to understand itself as God's chosen people, replacing the Jewish people as God's chosen people. So it was a certain sort of like they superseded them, right? So they took over the covenant and the promises, but sort of the problem that in that understanding is that the Jewish people persisted. So Christians are like, how could this be, right? Like that's a problem, and so a lot of scholars have seen that as the roots of anti-Semitism. So there was a need to really cast aspersion, right? And that gets mixed up with just the usual human,
politics.
Politics, power, economics, right?
Yeah.
But that's sort of the kind of theological thread to it, right? So to say like the extremes of that are like the Jewish people are no longer legitimate, right? And so that, or it's sort of that idea that the Jewish people crucified Jesus, right, and were to blame for his death. So all of that kind of compounds, and we get to, contemporary forms like deep rivers of that. Now, for those theologians and scholars who have done that work, there's been a real move to try and affirm, right, the continued reality of the Jewish people and the continued sort of covenant that they have with God. Can both be the same.
Christianity was birthed from Judaism.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
So it's just kind of like turning on your parent, I feel like.
Yes. I mean, that's a great analogy. Like some people turn on their parents.
But you have to go through the Old Testament to get to the New Testament. Christianity does not start with, I don't know, the first book of the New Testament. But what's the first?
Matthew.
Matthew. Oh, Matthew. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it doesn't, Christianity doesn't just start there. It starts in Genesis.
Yep.
So so much confusion. I just don't think people want you to ask these questions because I heard and I know you don't know everything.
Right.
But I just feel like that people need to start pulling at that string because what you said made absolutely no sense to me. I heard you.
Right.
And I hear you. But I'm like, something's missing. But you might have to add that political element to it to kind of make it brainwashing people into doing a ton of shit that they don't have any business doing. Because for whatever reason, why I needed to spread Christianity all over the world, and there weren't that many Christians to begin with, right? I
mean, it began as a small movement, but kind of grew, right, over about 300 years into a larger movement. Just sort of like, like there were Jewish communities that settled across Western Europe, right? So you're going to immediately have like conflict.
What happened that these communities started to leave? Were they all in Jerusalem?
Some. I mean, pretty early on there, Christian communities begin popping up around the Mediterranean.
Okay.
Yep. And there was probably around the first century a moment where kind of early Christians stopped being a Jewish renewal movement and kind of became their own entity. And probably at that time too, there was a shift away from folks who were Jewish followers of Jesus to kind of non-Jewish. So
Jewish followers of Jesus.
Yeah. So I mean, that would have been Jesus and
it wouldn't have been Christianity. It wouldn't have been called that.
That was sort of Jesus in his initial circle, right? And then this is sort of like what the letters of Paul are wrestling with, right? Is this kind of shift towards non-Jewish people who are attracted to the message of Jesus, right? And so a big question was like, do those folks have to become Jewish first before becoming Christians.
Okay.
Yep.
Which means that...
And so for Paul, it was Paul and eventually kind of the early Christian leaders in Jerusalem. It was, no, they did not have to become Jews first to become Christians.
I just thought of something so stupid.
The big question was like, for men, do I need to be circumcised?
You know, that's how it's going.
Yes.
You know, I'm
Yes.
childish as hell. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they meant.
That's where your mind was going.
Yep. I was going to say it way more up than how you just said it. I'm not going to say. I'm going to grow up. I'm going to grow up. For your viewers, I'm going to grow up.
I got there before you did.
You did. You landed this plane because I was gonna land it like
serious...
the soul plane for sure. Thank you, pilot.
I like Jesus until...
Yeah. Till I saw his... So where I was going was coexisting with these multiple religions in this space.
Yeah.
How old is Islam? What's the order? The order in the three?
It would be Judaism, Christianity, then Islam.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, interesting. Now I might know. Now we're getting somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So
and Islam sort of drew from both Judaism and Christianity.
In the same space, in the same living area.
Yeah.
This was all in Jerusalem.
Well, in the Middle East. Yeah. Yep.
I guess I did always know that it was the younger religion.
I mean, Jesus shows up in the Quran.
Right.
Yeah, and Mary.
And what was the?
They would recognize Jesus as a prophet. Muhammad being the greatest prophet. So there's also an element of some sort of like
supremacy.
Yeah, or superseding.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, in Judaism, there's no. What's the last book in Judaism? What's the book before Matthew?
I mean, Old Testament. So like, what's the?
But it's called the Torah, though, right?
Yeah.
Deuteronomy.
Well, that's the last book of the portion of the Bible that's known as the Torah. And then you have the wisdom literature. So then you have like the Psalms and Proverbs and like Ecclesiastes and Song of Songs. Then you have the prophets. It might be a prophet. So just look up like
Malachi.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
It's a prophet, Malachi.
Okay.
Yeah. But everyone has a different list of books.
What?
That'll throw you. That's another episode. Not everybody has the same list of books for the Bible.
What? Like
for
King
Christians,
James?
For Christians. Well, I mean, like, the Roman Catholic Church recognizes a few more books than the
What? I did not know this.
Yeah.
See? See?
At one point, like pre-book and printing, like it was scrolls.
Okay.
A collection of scrolls.
Right.
So you didn't kind of think of the scriptures as a book, but as more of a collection of writings.
Okay.
So folks had to get together and decide, of these writings that are floating around our community, what are the most authoritative? What are the ones that we're gonna really say are scripture?
Because I know there are books left out.
Yeah, so that like there's a lot. You watch the History Channel or whatever, you learn about like the Gospel of Thomas and other.
And I'm like, why though? What was they saying? What was they talking about?
Early Christian writings that get left out.
Were they saying some real shit, and that's why I got left out? I'm always skeptical.
I mean, I think there's a couple issues. Like one would be like how widely read were they across the different communities, right? So if it was sort of like a a text that was like really important to a small number of people, it may not have like ultimately kind of made it. You know, there were sort of like inter-Christian struggles in the early centuries with kind of groups that spun off. So if there was a piece, you know, one of those texts that was especially connected with that group, it wouldn't have been included.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So sometimes like the Gospel of Thomas is more connected with a group that spun off that was known as Gnosticism.
Gnosticism.
Yeah.
They need to bring some of those books back, because I bet you there's some stuff in some of those books. Like,
and then some of them are just, you know, there are writings that are pretty around the same time as like the Gospels that just didn't make it in.
I'm curious what I'm gonna switch it up real heavy.
Yeah,
now. I'm curious as what Judaism's beef is with Islam and vice versa. Because, you know, the questions that I was asking about Judaism and Christianity, right? Mm-hmm. And how that happened. And we didn't get too deep into it, but I got enough to all right, I'm come back to this one. I'm probably overthinking it, but I've never had anyone to talk to about this and I don't expect you to know any answers. I'm more so having a conversation with you.
Yeah.
If Jews started to leave Israel or Jerusalem for Germany, places like that, is that what happened, or were they converted? Were these people converted? Because what I'm getting at is the shit that's going on in Gaza. Okay.
Yeah.
If this group of people left and these group of people moved in, is that how that happened?
So I'm not an expert on all of the kind of the history of like Jewish migration or the Jewish diaspora, as it's called. So I would imagine like any migration, there's a whole host of like political, economic, and social forces that either push people out of their homeland or pull them to a different place, right? You know, you ask kind of like let me just kind of answer like broadly. So I think from like a religious perspective, you could see like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are all sometimes referred to as the Abrahamic religions. They all kind of trace themselves back to this common narrative of Abraham, chosen by God to build a people. So in that regard, it's like maybe you could say Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are all like siblings, right? So sibling rivalry is real. And then there's a whole host, you know, centuries of again, political, economic, and social forces, right, that play out between the nations and civilizations that are connected to each of these religions. They come into intersection and interplay with each other around the Mediterranean, and that leads to you know, to generations of conflict and some resentment and trauma.
Yeah. Damn.
So what, you know, you bring up Gaza. Gaza is just heartbreaking.
That shit is heartbreaking.
It is a humanitarian crisis beyond parallel.
And we've never seen anything like this on television.
Yeah.
And every single day.
So people right now are starving. So there are some groups, veterans led by Veterans for Peace, who right now I think there's a couple hundred people fasting in New York, and probably 100 to 1,000 people around the U.S. who are fasting.
What is that going to do?
It's an act of conscience, right?
Okay.
And I think they're trying to use it as a way to draw attention, right? Like, we're fasting because of the starvation. And, you know, I think it's modeled on Gandhi. Gandhi fasted during his struggle.
And did that work?
I mean, I think it galvanized people, right? It gave him a certain moral authority. I think it begins to I think it can begin to shift the moral narrative, right? To have people wake up and say, this is, regardless of, aside from blame, right? Like who's responsible for where we are in Gaza, like it really calls attention to the human suffering and loss, just the impact on human beings. So they're fasting on 250 calories a day. So that's what they have learned from folks on the ground in Gaza, that most people are surviving on 245 to 250 calories a day.
That's a bag of chips.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So what's happening in Gaza is just a humanitarian crisis, heartbreaking. I would say morally inexcusable, politics aside. And this is the human cost of war and conflict.
Because
hurt people.
We're bringing consciousness. We're elevating our consciousness or the awareness of this situation, but everybody knows this shit is wrong. I don't think because even Jewish people are like, yo, hey, yo, chill. This is some total.
Yeah, I mean,
annihilation of a idea.
This is the truth of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. They're not monoliths. They're made up of diverse people,
right,
with a lot of diverse like subgroups and diverse theologies and diverse ideologies and diverse political commitments. So none of those groups are monoliths on anything that's happening in the world, let alone Gaza.
Yeah, that's I just don't understand how people who are so religious could act in such a way. And I'm not, again, we spoke in this conversation about issues with religion, and I'm not, I do have an issue with that, but this is different. This is like, they're not like, God, like, I've never heard anybody say, I haven't heard anybody in Israel say God is making us do this.
Yeah.
This is some whole other shit, which is still very ungodlike.
Yeah.
Killing kids because there's a and the crazy thing is, I grew up. I'm a 9/11. I wouldn't say I'm a 9/11 baby, but I grew up in that time. I was 11 years old when they drove those planes into the building. So I can't help but be conspiracy theorist. Sorry, I am. I can't help but be a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, when they talked about America being ISIS, and I saw a political cartoon where there was a guy in an ISIS in the garb.
Yeah.
But it had military shit under it. And I'm like, so I took it literal, and then I was like, you got to look deeper into it. And what they was talking about is America funding ISIS.
Yeah.
To do these certain things to trigger certain shit. And so, it's the wolf in sheep's clothing type thing, the serpent.
Two things there. So one is that I think, unfortunately, there is a deep entanglement between religion and violence. And this is historical, right? And I think most religious traditions, I'll speak from my own Christianity, there's a long history of a very disturbing entanglement between religion and violence. So the reality is that sometimes religions malfunction. So the power that religions have to bring people together, to provide, to make meaning structures of the world and personal lives. Even religion's ability to connect people with the transcendent, find their deepest calling and purpose, and for healing, that can malfunction, and it can be hijacked for nefarious purposes. And this happens, unfortunately, a lot. So when those powerful elements of religion are misdirected or malfunctioned, they can lead to religions supporting violence and oppression. So the history of Christianity's entanglement with colonialism, with slavery, Christian nationalism in this current moment.
Yep.
Those are all from my perspective, places where Christianity malfunctioned. Yep. Now, the political question for me is that, you're talking about what is the U.S.'s role? What's the USA's role in all this? Well, it's kind of like a global superpower. Our foreign policy, when it has failed around the world, right, creates the conditions. Creates the conditions for resentment,
destabilizing,
anger, despair, rage.
Yeah.
Rage.
When you destabilize a whole government, you're bound to piss somebody off.
Yeah.
And then they're bound to travel. That's karma.
Yeah, I mean, so in that regard, there's many places where the USA's foreign policy has failed and malfunctioned, and that creates real harm and hurt people.
Yep. Well, I think I'm gonna end it with the hurt people type. How you just said it.
Yeah.
You always have a good way of ending shit, just like a pastor. Just like
gotta wrap it up.
Yep.
3 points and I'm out.
Yep. 3 points and I'm out. Interesting. Is that your thing?
That's like the classic like sermon structure.
Okay.
Hook them with a story.
Okay.
Only have 3 main points. Wrap it up in the end.
Yeah, because you don't want to lose people.
If you get lost, you just wrap it up by closing where you started.
Okay. Wow, crazy work. Crazy work. I wish you had told me that before we did an hour of this fucking episode.
Now you tell me.
Right.
So back to funerals.
Right.
This is an Urban Genius production.